Welcome.
About conspiracy theories. Now, I haven't done one of these in a while, mainly because I just haven't really encountered anything that kind of blew my mind until now. I was listening to Jenna Marble and Julian's podcast, and they started talking about the Berenstain Bears theory. And I'll get into that in a minute, but it literally opened up my brain. Well, it literally destroyed my brain, threw it on the walls, and lit it on fire. So first I'm going to start with the Mandela effect. Now, obviously, Nelson Mandela is a big historical figure, but his name is part of a conspiracy theory called the Mandela effect, which basically means we all remember something that is not real. Like, we all remember a certain thing about the past, or a certain event, or a certain whatever, and for some reason, it didn't happen. Or it didn't happen the way we remember. One theory for this is parallel universes, but I'll get into that in a minute. Let me give you an example. First of all, the Berenstain Bears. Now, obviously, the Berenstain Bears were a really fun book series when you were a kid. I know I read all of them, and I was a huge fan. And it's always been the Berenstain Bears. To me, you know, I-E-N at the end of the Berenstain. That's what I saw. And then I found out that no, all these years it's been Berenstain Bears. That's bullshit. Are you kidding me? I was their biggest fan. I was like a bearaholic. And the fact that it was Berenstain, and for some reason my whole life I thought it was Berenstein, means that there's something wrong here. And this is something that everybody I have talked to in my life remembers as Berenstein. So one thing that a lot of conspiracy theorists say is that at some point in the past, like 20 years, our universe went into a parallel universe. And little things have changed, but we still remember the things from our other universe. So like in our other universe, it was Berenstain Bears, but then something switched and it all changed. Kind of like when you watch one of those time travel movies and somebody goes back in time and like kills a butterfly, and then 100 years later, there's no butterflies anywhere. And everybody's like, what were those things called? Do you remember, like, butterflies? No, those never existed. Weird. Just like that, except with bears and their cartoons. I don't know. But this isn't the only thing that people are calling a Mandela effect. I'm going to give you a list of a few of them that freaked me the fuck out. This woman. Do you know her name? I've always called her Barbara Streisand. No. Her name has always been Barbara. Who the fuck spells their name like that? That's not a thing. No offense to all the Barbaras out there, it probably is a thing. But for Barbara Streisand, she's always been Barbara Streisand to all of us. And now for some reason they're trying to tell me that her name has always been Barbara. Mandela effect. One fun thing is that the word definitely is the most misspelled word in the whole fucking English language, and I spell it wrong every single time in a text message, and it always has to change it. So some people are saying, well, maybe in the other universe it definitely was spelled that way, and that's how we all remember it. Or we all just suck at spelling. Now, a lot of people also remember celebrities dying, but they're still around. For example, Henry Winkler from Happy Days. People remember him dying during the filming of the show. A lot of people remember that. A lot of people remember Betty White dying like 10 years ago. I mean, Betty's probably like, wait, what? She's still working, but a lot of people remember that. I'm sure some people remember me dying. I'm surprised I'm not already dead. I'm close, but I'm not dead. Now, you all remember that movie from years ago where Tom Cruise played a vampire. And the movie, as we all thought, was called Interview with a Vampire. Turns out, no. It's been Interview with the Vampire the whole time. Even when you Google it, Interview with a Vampire comes up first. So obviously, we all remember it as that title. Similar to Sex and the City. Oh, what was that? Sex and the City? No. It's Sex and the City. What the fuck? And I know a lot of people are like, well, that could just be something that people have just kind of mistakenly said. But how come all of us have mistakenly said it? And those are two very popular things. Sex and the City was on for like 1 billion years, and we all call it Sex in the City. Another example is that everybody remembers the scene from Star Wars where he said, Luke, I am your father. It's like the most quoted scene of all time. I'm about to blow your guys' minds.
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
No. I am your father.
What? Hello? Are you kidding me? Literally, Luke, I am your father. That is on shirts. People walk around and go, Luke, I am your father. That was actually really good. But this whole time it's been no, I am your father? How did we all fuck that up? Parallel universe. Now, one that really freaked me out was Mr. Rogers, because I loved Mr. Rogers as a kid. We all know the song. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day in the neighborhood. We all know that song. It's kind of creepy to think about me singing that right now for some reason as a 27-year-old, but whatever. Turns out, we've been wrong the whole time.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine?
Yeah, it's a beautiful day in this neighborhood. I've never sang it like that. I've never heard anybody sing it like that. My mom used to sing me that song every day and she never sang it like that. So how can we all remember it as the neighborhood? Now listen, I know a lot of those are stupid and a lot of people could be like, oh, come on, it's just people fucking up words, which might be true. There's a lot that kind of makes sense to me. I mean, the whole theory of parallel universes and the whole theory of, well, it's not even a theory, black holes exist. All of these things, like the universe is so huge. There's so many planets, so many galaxies. The fact that like our planet, our universe could have went through a black hole, could have got shifted off of its path, that could have happened. Think about it. What if in some other universe, Shane Dawson was funny? So I'm gonna keep searching for more Mandela effects because they're really fun for me. They freak me the fuck out. I love to text friends and family and be like, send them like a picture of, hey, what's up you guys? Yes, today is another one of our darker videos and we are gonna be talking about plane crashes. Now, because of my book tour, I've been on a lot of planes lately, and flying is probably one of my biggest fears. I mean, can you blame me? The thought of being cramped into this fucking metal object in the sky, hurling through the clouds. At any moment, it could just explode and come crashing to the ground. And what are the chances of surviving that? Probably zero. Well, that led me down a really dark hole on the internet where I started looking up facts about plane crashes, videos of planes crashing. I even watched an entire documentary called How to Survive a Plane Crash, which, by the way, was great. It's on YouTube. This is not sponsored. It's really fucking cool. I'll put the link down in the description if you want to check it out. And I learned a lot of stuff, so today I'm going to break down what I learned about plane crashes. First, we're going to be talking about the emergency door. So if you've ever been on a plane and you've been looking around, you've probably noticed that on each side there are 2 emergency doors. And what I always noticed was, wow, those look kind of easy to open. It's just one latch. Like, what would happen if somebody just decided to open it? Well, a few things would happen, and none of them good. Now, if somebody were to open up that door during the flight, they would be sucked out of the plane. And pretty much everyone's sitting in that area. And if you're not sucked out of the plane, you're probably not going to survive because the air that would fill the plane would be freezing cold because of the altitude. You would practically turn to ice. And then the hole where the door was would start to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually the entire plane would just break apart. So if you're on a plane and you're thinking about trying to unlatch that emergency door, fucking don't. The second thing I learned is that planes usually don't crash while they're like mid-flight. If a plane's gonna crash, it's usually gonna happen the first 3 minutes during the takeoff or the last 8 minutes before it lands. Supposedly 80% of plane crashes happen during those 11 minutes. And some of the deadliest plane crashes in history have happened on takeoff. Here's a video clip I found of a plane crashing before it even really took off. Check it out. Now this next thing I heard honestly creeped me the fuck out. I could not stop visualizing it, so of course I'll share it with you guys. If a plane crashes and the impact is hard enough, your body, because it's made up of 70% water, will explode. Now I don't even know what that means or how to visualize that other than just a water balloon exploding. I mean, I've never seen an actual real video clip of somebody exploding. I've only seen it in the movies, but it's still fucking terrifying. Now, have you ever noticed that when you're taking off or you're landing, they turn all the lights in the plane off, and usually the windows are unrolled so you can see outside? Well, the reason they do that isn't so that you'll fall asleep or so that you'll feel comfortable. No. The reason they do that is because they want your eyes to adjust to the natural lighting outside. That way, if the plane crashes while it's taking off or landing, your eyes will already be adjusted to the natural lighting outside so that when you get to the exit door, it doesn't like blind you. Oh, and those lights that go all the way across the floor are not to help you find the bathroom or to help you find your seat. It's because when the plane crashes, it fills completely with smoke, and those lights are the only thing you'll be able to see. And that's how you're going to guide your way to the exit door. But that leads us to the next thing I learned, which is about fire and smoke, and it is fucked up. Now, surprisingly, a lot of people survive the actual crash of the plane, but what they usually don't survive is the fire that happens when the plane is on the ground. So when the plane crashes, you have 90 seconds to get the fuck out or you are dead. In 90 seconds, the entire plane will fill with black, thick smoke, and breathing that in for even just a few minutes will kill you. There's been stories of planes crashing where everybody survived the crash and then only like 20 people got out of the plane from the smoke. And that's because once they open those emergency doors, people just stampede and they crush each other and they just like completely turn it into chaos. And because of that, the 90 seconds goes real fast. And then everybody's dead. This next thing I learned scared the shit out of me, and it's about the pilots. So there was a survey done, and around 50% of pilots admitted to falling asleep while they were flying the plane. But we shouldn't be worried, right? Because there's always 2 pilots flying the plane. Well, a third of those pilots that were surveyed admitted that when they woke up from their sleep, they looked over, and the other pilot was asleep too. Now, I know planes can kind of fly themselves once you're up in the air, so it's not something to be super scared of, but I don't know, call me crazy. It kind of freaks me out to think about a pilot being asleep when you're in the plane. Holy fuck. Now I learned another fact about life jackets. We talked about this before in a conspiracy theory video, where basically the whole point of a life jacket isn't so that you'll be floating in water so you can swim home, isn't so that you'll be floating in the water so you can wait for the rescue boat. No. Usually the water's so cold that you freeze to death anyways. The point of the life jacket is so that your body is floating on the surface of the water, so that when they come to find your dead body, they can get it easily. Well, I learned another thing about life jackets. Supposedly they're bright yellow for the same reason, because if there's a crash and there's a bunch of bodies in the water, or bodies in trees and just bodies everywhere, if your dead body has that bright yellow life jacket on, they can easily see you. Now this next thing I learned isn't really about flying in like a normal plane, it's more about the Air Force. But basically when you're in the Air Force, they take footprints of you. And supposedly the reason for that is because when one of those small Air Force planes crashes, the only thing left of the soldier is the foot in his boot. Ugh. Oh my god. Oh fuck. That one really gives me chills. I also learned a few things about seatbelts. Now, one of them is exciting. Supposedly, if you have one of those thick seatbelts, that means there's an airbag inside of it, which means it will actually explode on impact and hopefully protect you. And that's great. That'll keep you from smashing your head against the seat in front of you. That'll keep you from like flailing your limbs around. So if you're ever on a plane and you notice that your seatbelt is really thick and extra big, you should be very grateful. But then you have the other seatbelts, which are pretty standard and normal, and they only go across your waist. Well, one thing that's scary about that is that in some plane crashes, it has been shown that some people get chopped in half by their seatbelt. If the impact is strong enough, the person could fly forward and disconnect from their own body. But if the impact is strong enough anyways, everybody's gonna die. So whether you have a seatbelt on or not, you're still gonna be fucking dead. But just the thought of, oh, that is just terrifying. Okay, so on a plus side, now we are going to talk about ways that you can survive a plane crash. Now I watched that documentary, I looked up a lot of different lists and facts and a lot of different videos, and I compiled together some of the tips that I think are the most useful. Number 1, book a seat that is within 5 rows of the exit door. That way you'll be able to get out hopefully within that first 90 seconds. If you're sitting in the very back of the plane or even in first class at the very front, chances are you're not going to make it. Number 2, as you're entering the plane, make sure to touch each seat that you walk past and count how many seats you are from the exit. That way, if the plane is filled with smoke and you have to get out, you can touch the seats and count and remember how close you are to the exit instead of just running around frantically. Number 3, supposedly one of the safest positions that you can take if the plane is crashing is to put your head in between your knees and hug your legs. That way you're protecting your head from the seat in front of you, you're protecting your arms from flying around and breaking, and you're protecting your neck from snapping. Number 4, if the plane is taking off or if the plane is landing, take out your headphones. Don't fall asleep, don't drink. You want to be completely aware of your surroundings in case the plane crashes. Some people have died because they've been too drunk or they were asleep and they missed that 90-second window to get out. Number 5, if the plane crashes and you're trying to get out, leave your shit behind. So many people have died because people are wasting that 90 seconds by trying to get their shit. I don't care what's in that bag of yours, it's not that important. And just think, if you did grab your bag and then you exited that plane, somebody probably died because you took the time to grab that bag. I don't know, doesn't seem worth it. Number 6, whenever they tell you to put on that oxygen mask first before you help anybody else, fucking listen to that. The reason they tell you that is because if you don't put on that mask, within 15 seconds, you'll be passed out. So think about it this way. If you put the mask on your baby first, you'll probably be passed out by the time you go to put on your own mask. And now your baby is sitting there fucked because you're passed out and the plane crashes and you can't get the baby out. So put on your mask first. Now this last tip is for a very extreme circumstance, and that's if your plane explodes and you are now hurling toward the ground. Supposedly they say do not aim for water. Like hitting water from that high up is basically like hitting the ground. They say that the best position to do is to put your arms out and your legs out like you're skydiving and try to land flat. That way as you're falling, your body is kind of going against the wind, so you're going a little slower. If you curl up into a ball, you're just gonna hurl toward the ground like a fucking bullet. And then if you do land like this, you will probably have every bone broken and just be really fucked up. But that position does give you slightly more of a chance of surviving. So there you guys go. That is some things I learned about plane crashes that really creeped me out, but also made me feel better. Because there is ways to survive. I always thought if I was in a plane and it started to go down, that would be it. But supposedly 95% of people actually survive plane crashes, which is fucking awesome. And also, traveling in a plane is like a bajillion times safer than traveling in a car. Cars crash all the time, every single day, thousands of them. But when you think about it, how many planes really crash? How often do you really hear about some big, epic plane crash? Not that often. So hopefully this video didn't just creep you out. Hopefully it made you feel a little bit better about flying. But also I hope it creeped you out a little bit because, well, I like to creep you out. And I like to creep myself out too. Alright you guys, hopefully you enjoyed that video. Make sure you give me a thumbs up.